and we are transitioning to a demo of Momentum. Welcome, Jordan Nettles.
Thanks,
How are
everybody.
you doing?
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you on. What's new with Momentum?
A lot. Right now, we're really focused on some of the things we'll showcase today is on the aggregation side. How do we take a context window that consists of 1,000 opportunities and help tell a story about, where a product manager might want to take a certain product, or where we can find a drop off between stage 2 and stage 3 and action against it using some of Momentum's automation side.
Awesome. Let's dive in.
Amazing. I'll go ahead and share my screen. So Momentum does something called enterprise listening. What that really means is we're taking calls, emails, service tickets, really any vector of customer-facing communication. We're taking all of that information, we're structuring it, and we're automating it where it needs to go. Now, there are several different layers to what this might look like on a day-to-day. There's many personas that can benefit from this information. The core challenge we're solving, by the way, is the ability to not rely on humans as the data source. So for all of the different conversations that might happen throughout your go-to-market entity, being able to take the information, make sure that the right people get that info at the right time so that it can be actioned against. One of the things that we'll be focusing on today is what we call the go-to-market data refinery. There are many folks in this market who have seen demos of different technologies that really feel like nothing more than a basic LLM wrapper. But it does a bit of a disservice whenever your go-to-market team needs this first-party data to be structured and parsed elegantly. That's something that Momentum has really been focused on building out on the infrastructure layer. And so we'll talk through a few different examples of how this actually comes to life today. In principle, just know that Momentum behind the scenes has several layers of validation. Think about every time we take one of these customer-facing interactions, call, email, SMS, what have you, we're breaking it down into its principal components. Think about objections, think about pricing reactions, think about competitors that might be mentioned. We're taking all that information and we're storing it so that when we go to retrieve it, it's being actioned against in a proper way that we can then build lots of different workflows from. I'll walk through a few of those examples here in the next 5 minutes. To give a couple of examples of where this usually starts, think of your sales methodology or your customer success framework that you run internally. Usually this is something like Medpic, Spiceband, Challenger, where you're pulling in really a GPS for your deal. And one of the interesting things about this is one of the paradigms that AI allows us to actually operate within is that whenever we have AI listening for every single conversation that's taking place, if I recognize that a single rep does not have decision criteria across 7 of their 10 active deals, it's no longer a question of whether or not they just didn't put it into the system, because the momentum's going to be running at all times and actually updating this. So we know that if the information is missing, it's just not being talked about, and I have a real coaching opportunity. Where some of our best customers are actually taking this technology is significantly more interesting. Some of our customers have something like 15 or 16 different entry and exit criteria for their sales stages throughout their intertwined between their sales process. And what they're using Momentum to do is actually move their sales stages along fully autonomously. So for instance, to be in stage 1 of an opportunity, let's say you need meaningful next steps, a pathway to a champion, and a pain point you can solve for. Well, every single call, every single email, every single SMS, we're listening for if that's met. And so we can actually move your opportunity along, making sure that your team's not sandbagging a deal or pushing it farther along than it should be just on wishful thinking. Where this becomes most impactful is actually late stage. So if I'm in stage 5 of an opportunity, let's say, and that's getting towards the end of my cycle, and according to my rep, I'm in stage 5, but really if I'm looking at Momentum to pick up on these markers of deal health according to my sales process, I can actually pick up that it might be in stage 3. We haven't started legal, we haven't talked to an economic buyer, we haven't gone through any sort of conversations with procurement. And so I can do 3 things using Momentum. One, I can elevate this to the account executive. Hey, we really shouldn't be this far along in the opportunity. According to our own sales process, we're really only in stage 3, stage 4. 2, if my manager's calling it, just letting them know, hey, by the way, we shouldn't be this far along in the sales process. And then 3, being able to actually adjust my weighted forecast. So if I say that whenever something is in stage 5, it should be 70% baked in, but my sales process actually says I'm in stage 3, that's a far different number when you're looking at the fact that Momentum is running this for every opportunity. And so you're able to actually adjust expectations towards where your pipeline's actually at. Transition to the Momentum product quickly. In order to create these types of data extractions, it's very easy. We're effectively saying when I want this to run, what context to include, and I'm giving it my template. So for instance, if I want to generate an account handoff, kind of a second level data capture where I'm rolling up all the interactions, all of the calls, all the emails, and telling CS what to action on once I've closed one the opportunity, I can dictate when I want this to run. So maybe whenever I have a new CSM join and they have a new book of business they need to execute against, or someone becomes a customer for the first time, I can then include context from Salesforce. I can include context from my calls, my emails, my SMS, my service tickets. And I look back, let's say 4 quarters or 8 quarters if I have longer deal cycles, and I'm running my prompt. Because we're natural language based, we're actually able to take in whatever kind of formatting we're looking to achieve in terms of what's actually useful to my team and not kind of a cookie cutter example. We include information from the CRM. We include possibilities about competitor mentions, like we're talking about earlier, some of that infrastructure layer. And what this means is my CS team now can go execute against what the pre-sales team has done without having that context handoff. The third level I want to talk about today in terms of data aggregation is a level above this. Let's say I have a really big question with my company as a whole. Let's say I want to figure out where I should invest product resources, where I should spend engineering time. Well, my customers are telling me all the time what they actually want from us. I have information from the CRM about what is the actual pipeline behind this opportunity because I have opportunity amounts. I can see how long deal cycles are. I can see segments. Collecting all that information is actually second nature to us, where what I'm able to do with Momentum is effectively say, okay, look back at all of the deals in the last, let's call it 3 months, and tell me every single time in our case, we were looking to answer the question of whether or not I should be using resources to build out HubSpot or a Microsoft Teams integration. So I look at all the information that actually we were able to collect along the journey of the deal cycle using Momentum already, include loss detail, loss reasoning, any information about what CRM or text-based interface they're using. And then I'm able to actually enrich that with information about the opportunity amount and the stage we got to and the close date and the previous stage that we got to before closing the opportunity. And I'm looking back at an entire year's worth of conversational data to effectively arrive at what is a breakdown of pipeline. So by using all of this CRM data, by breaking down all this information intelligently, I can answer these large questions about why do I have a major drop off in my pipeline between stage 2 and stage 3? Why are we losing to this competitor over and over and over again? What's the difference? And usually in the previous paradigm, what happens is information bubbles up from all of my different managers and from the front lines, lots of anecdotes. But effectively what I can do is I can just look at all the conversations I've had for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, and pull in the exact, in this case of product, the exact pipeline that sits behind Microsoft Teams and HubSpot and make an effective decision for my organization. That's where Momentum sits, and that's why we are able to use this concept of a go-to-market data refinery to effectively answer all the way down from individual deals, like what are the next steps and did I collect metrics, up to a handoff note for customer success, rolling all the way up to answer the biggest questions in my organization where I should effectively guide strategy. I can get to all of that using Momentum. Feel free to scan the QR code that sends directly to our website.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Phenomenal demo. And let's take a couple of questions from the community here. So the first one is, how does Momentum ensure data privacy and compliance with industry standards?
Great question. We are SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We'll be doing ISO next year. We have customers based all across the globe. So think of any sort of GDPR compliance, any sort of specific standards for certain types of industry like healthcare or cybersecurity. Some of our largest customers exist in both industries. The short answer is they've all put us through the ringer, and we have everything in place to make sure that we're taking care of the appropriate components for those industries.
Amazing. And there are questions about the churn risk and what type of
Mhm.
alerts can teams get
Yes.
when churn risk occurs.
I love this. Um, as we know with AI, the best use cases always revolve around having good context. So if I were to ask a model, hey, review all of this, go to market data and tell me if there's churn potential, there's certainly going to be flagging that happens, and we can deliver that information to, let's say, the account management team as they're going to work a renewal if the CS and account management teams are separate. But what we really see being best practice is whenever we have the ability to guide the model and say, hey, if it's one of these three or four types of churns, I actually want to engage, if it's $100,000 opportunity or account, maybe I want to engage the VP of sales and pre-write him an email talking about the pain points we figured out in the last 3 to 6 months. All of it's prompt driven, and so it's really as creative as you can be and as good as you are at providing context to the model. And obviously, the Momentum team is here to help with all of that.
And are you able to share your, I don't know, favorite case study or any really good customer story as of late?
I would love to. So one of my favorite that we've ever worked on is we ran an entire quarter of closed lost and closed won analysis for the ramp team. They wanted to get insights into segmentation of their opportunities. They wanted to get insights into where they win and what are the patterns whenever they do win. Where do they lose and what are the patterns when they do lose? All sorts of really rich business context comes out of these types of analyses, things you didn't even know, like, oh, my competitors actually don't support this language. This is actually a value edge for us in these markets. Those types of use cases really, really move the needle for companies.
And what's next on the roadmap? What can you share?
Deep research. So think about everything we're talking through in terms of aggregation of interesting and insightful components across my entire pipeline, being able to take that intel and run things like a potential forecast based on years of close won and close loss data from the CRM and conversational insights, being able to tune that to whatever is relevant for your go-to-market organization.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Huge pleasure hosting you again. And we are transitioning to our next session.